For the last 4 years, I have been on task for God. And if you said, well, what is that task? I'd say, I don't know. But what I do know is that I'm uniting the remnant, those people who call themselves the remnant, the few that are about God's business. There's always a remnant on this earth. Time and time again throughout biblical history, there was this small group of people that were about God's business, and it's always been here and always will be till the end. And it says that we are scattered until the end times and that we are to unite. And so that's what I'm doing. Now, how does that work? I don't know. But I've been obedient to every step of the way. When God said, go travel west, I traveled west. When God said, start a thing in Missouri, I started a thing in Missouri. Now, here's the beautiful thing about traveling west is I went to Wyoming, and then I went to Montana, and then I went to Oregon, and I went to LA, and then I went to Arizona, and then back home to Missouri. And I've just been called back there, but I didn't know where. I thought I needed to go east because in my head I was going to go east. I wanted to go that way, but God just never said go east. And I kept getting called west. I just didn't really understand that. And when I was in Montana, I was very prayerful about every single one of my stops. And I ended up in a valley, just this valley in between two mountains, north of Yellowstone. And, I didn't go there to go to Yellowstone. I didn't even go into Yellowstone. I went to this house. I stayed at that house. The only thing I did was I went into the local town and bought groceries for the folks that were going to come meet there. And then I left, and we met a bunch of people there, and they're all like, okay, we're on fire for this thing. We want to be about our Father's business. We look around, we live in a town of 5,000. You look around, there's maybe 3 or 4 of you that are like this, and that means we're scattered. And here's this few. Some came from Idaho. Some came from the Dakotas. Some came from Montana. Some came from Wyoming. But they came. And then Joe, who runs Standing in the Gap Ministry, has just gotten back from Montana and has been called to go out there and open up a ministry there. Standing in the Gap Ministry, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, taking care of the widows and orphans, housing the prisoners. So he wants to buy a house there, or is going to buy a house there to house inmates coming out of prison. I think men at first and then women. And I said, well, gosh, Joe, where are you going to do this? And he said, he's going to these 2 towns is where he went. And the valley I was in was directly in between those 2 towns. So here's people that are already like, hey, I want to go. Well, we're going. That's the beautiful thing. So the next remnant meeting, the first Saturday of every month, which is normally in Missouri, is going to be in Montana. So that's September 2nd in Billings, Montana. And we're going to be ministering to the homeless. We're going to be feeding people and ministering to the homeless and just scouting it out on that day. There's a lot of homeless people in North Park, Billings, and that's where we're going to be focused on, specifically in the park in North Park. So in Billings. So if you are interested in going that, and what I mean by interested is if God's calling you to do it, get up and go. You need to get up and go. And if you're around there, like if you came to that house and met with me and you said, well, okay, now what, Mark? Here's the what. That's what this is. So now we're going to be in Missouri, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, taking care of the widows and orphans, and visiting the prisoners and the sick. And now we're going to Billings, Montana, and we're going to do it there as well at the same time. There's going to be, in a way, we're calling people to go there and live there and do this ministry. Already we have 5 people who have said they want to move there to do this ministry. And if you live around there, or you're like, hey, I want to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, take care of the widows and orphans. I want to be about my Father's business because he demands it. As the remnant, that's what his business is. And in the end times, there's going to be a lot of hungry, a lot of naked, a lot of widows, a lot of orphans, a lot of prisoners, and a lot of sick and injured people. And this is what his business is, according to Jesus Christ in Matthew 24 and Matthew 25, when he spoke about the end times. And he also said, if you're not doing these things, that you spend eternity in punishment. Now, I'm not preaching salvation through works, but what I'm preaching is if the relationship is real and the Spirit dwells within, well, the works are just going to come naturally. If you're not being tugged to do the works, you have to question whether the Spirit is within. So I'm not trying to guilt trip you into going to Montana, but if the Spirit's telling you to go to Montana, you need to go to Montana. September 2nd, North Park, Billings, Montana is where we're going to be. Probably all day kind of thing, starting in the afternoon. So there you go. Come join us. This is a new thing. I'm going to put a link below for Stand in the Gap Ministry. Reach out to Joe if you think you're coming. He's the one kind of organizing it. I'm definitely going to be there. Put that below if you're interested. If God is calling you, don't delay. Do that thing. And if he's not, wait. I've been waiting for a long time to know why I went to Montana. 3 years I've been waiting. 2 years, a little over 2 years.